All right, let's start. So, yesterday we have discussed about job. What is exactly, what is a job? Just to do any task through Jenkins, we create a job. That's what it is. Simple. Anything, any task, no matter what it is. If you want to do the task with Jenkins, you have to create a job. And of course, there are some sections inside the job. We have discussed a couple of them. Let's see remaining of them today. So yesterday, within the job, of course, we have seen how to create a job, how to build it, and how to check out our code also. We have tried that yesterday. Hope you remember that. And of course, these options: workspace, job, I mean, delete, project option. So all these as well we have seen. And in the general section, we have seen we covered the general section. I mean, the parameters, discarded builds, concurrent uh, jobs, builds if necessary, not jobs. And of course, I want to tell one thing. Job is nothing but we wanted to create a task. So that's why we created a job. Then what is sorry, what is a build? Build is nothing but when we execute a job or when we run the job, a build will be generated. So no matter how many times you run, that many builds will be generated. So that's the difference between job and build. Do you remember that? So hope it is clear so far. So any doubts in yesterday's class, any questions we have, anything, anyone? All right. I take it as no. Let's go to today's class. So yesterday we closed. I think you know all these. Yesterday we closed in this Git checkout. So let's try this again. So I want to check out my code from Git. So there is a source code management section in the job, within the job. You can simply use that and define what you want to check out. Let's say the repo, the branch, and what credentials to use. So all these things you have to define. Then it will check out it. So what is the repo URL? This is the one. Simply paste it. Repository URL, I have to paste it here. What are the credentials? If you can select from existing. If you don't have, you know how to add it. And click on add username, password. If it is username and password, obviously. And there is one more option, right? If you remember, SSH user with the key. We can check out with SSH key also. So you have to give username and SSH key. We can add it directly here, and you know, where is it? Yeah, we can add it here and we can save it. It will be stored as an encrypted. I mean, no doubt. So this is also one way. So I have already added my credentials. Where is it? Yeah, yesterday, and it's a public repo, so I don't need credentials at all to check out. I'll make it private, but I have to reset my password. So that I'll try. But yeah, for now, let's keep it public repo. Next, it is asking what is a branch? I want to maybe clone release branch now. Let's keep it release. Do remember star slash? I'm not changing that. I'm just changing the name. So keep this star slash. Okay, that's it. Say now let's see if when I build now, it has to clone the code or check out. I mean, both check out the code, whatever. So what we told to Jenkins? Hey Jenkins, this is my Git URL, my credentials and my branch. I mean, which I want to clone. It will flow, it will do it once you build the job. It will do your task. Now, is it already done? Yeah, fast. Yep. Finally opening. How? Yeah. So it finally opened. Yeah. If you see now, of course, it is checking out the code. What is the branch? The release branch. This is the repo which we can. And this is the command we gave. I think ls we gave. I didn't see what command we gave, but that's okay. And you know where it is checking out. By default, the workspace, the jobs workspace, it leaves that. And of course, in the general section, there is an option yesterday we have seen to change your workspace. Got it? So you can change your workspace and make sure that the Jenkins have access to that folder, the directory, whatever the workspace you give. Then it will use that. So do we change the workspace? Yes, it's pretty common. There is no specific thing like okay, we need to use only the default workspace, not other things, except something like that. You can change it. There is no issue. So this is what about source code management section. Simply to check out the code from anywhere. Let's say for now we have we are using GitHub obviously, so we have checked out from GitHub. Let's say someone might be using Bitbucket. That's also one of the version control system, distributed one. So they can use that. But how we don't see any option, the plugins. So what happens here is if you want to do something, install the plugin and the option will come, do the configuration. That's it. Just one time, right? You don't do it every time. So correct. So we hope it's clear. So this is about source code management section. Next thing we have build triggers. What is this? The most important section in Jenkins. So what is the point of Jenkins? To automate everything. How it will automate? By using this section, build trigger section. What is in build triggers? There are some options. Uh, how it will trigger? There are multiple ways how it will trigger. So one way is, or let's say two ways. Let's keep it done like that. So one thing is trigger builds remotely. So what happens here is with this trigger builds option, you can trigger the jobs from remote. How to trigger? Using curl commands, anything. You can execute this in local or in command. If you simply execute this URL, they gave it URL. You can do that. How? You can first you have to give a token. Just give anything. Test. That's it. That's fine. Now it will give URL. Use this following URL to build. To trigger the build remotely. Jenkins URL. This is a job URL. Build a token. The token name. What is the token name? Test. I have to give this URL. It means copy this and keep it in notepad. Just this job slash build. This is my URL, right? Correct. I think, yeah, this is fine. Let's save this. Let's see. Trigger builds remotely option is without logging to Jenkins, we can able to do that. Let's try whether it works or not. I'll do from here. Let's see. Let it save first. Yeah, so sixth. Let's try with curl. There is this control. Yes, let's see if it works or not. Authentication required. You need to pass authentication because Jenkins expects it. So now for this command, we need to pass authentication. Let's try that. So this is command is fine. Where is it? Yeah. So for now, I'm simply pass it without any sorry, blah blah. Hmm. See, it's triggering. See, seventh one started. I didn't even do anything. I mean, log into Jenkins, go to UI, something like that. I just executed it like this, and it's triggered. Got it? Without even log into Jenkins, you can trigger the jobs remotely with this option. Trigger builds remotely. Don't have any other browser. If there is a browser also, simply you can hit this URL. It'll start the job. But it's the same browser. So let me try incognito once. I think it should work here. Or it'll ask for the username and password. Hmm. All right. Sorry. Just pass it. Just one, two, three. Sorry. That's it. It won't open anything, but sorry, it is triggered. It will be triggered. Let's refresh. See, 8 build is going on. That's how you use that option. Trigger builds remotely. If you want to trigger like this, you can simply enable it, enable the option, pass some token, anything. It's not in something we generate. Anything can be done. So that's how we trigger the builds remotely. This is one of the options. But still, it's not automated way if you observe. We are executing it manually, of course, and we are passing the credentials. Yeah, open. So this is one of the options. But still not automated if you observe. Correct? Let's see other options. Build other project. Build after other projects are built. This is like, this option is like linking this job, I mean, or project to another project. Let's say, what I think you understood by that. Build this project after other projects are built. It means build this job once others are done. Why? Maybe it may be dependent on the job. So at the time we link those jobs. So let's say we have two jobs. Now simply I write prod job, right? Yeah, remove that comma, space and comma. Yeah. So now what happens is this test job will run only after prod job is built and it is success. Trigger only if it is build is stable. I mean, we can run manually, but if you want to make it automatic, it will run only after prod job is done. Otherwise, no. Got it? So let's try this. So now what I'll do is I'll save it. I'll run the prod job and let's see whether it will work out. Yeah. So now let's refresh it again. See, there is some new thing if you observe. Something called upstream projects. This is the concept of upstream and downstream means linking the projects so that they are dependent on each other. It's like a chain of jobs. To keep it simple, let's say I am dependent on food, like the life cycle, the chain, the food chain, the food chain, right? One is dependent on one is dependent on one. Similarly, here also, this upstream and downstream projects nothing but chain of jobs which are dependent on each other. Now, what I did here in the test job, what I did is what I did. I gave the prod job name. So it means the prod job, I mean the test job will run only after prod job is finished successfully when it was automated. So this is what we did just now, right? Come on. So now what happens? Prod job will run first and test job is after that. It means test is dependent on prod job, obviously. So now prod job became the upstream job, test job become the downstream job. Upstream and downstream. This is option C. Build after other projects are built. Remember that. It means build this one after others are built. What is the others? This is the one. There can be anything. So I just choose the name. That's it. So now this one became the upstream because this is the on top because this job will depend on this one. So this is the upstream job. This test job is the downstream job now. If you go to prod job, you will see the difference. It will show you now here in the test job it shows upstream job as prod. In the prod it will show you downstream job as a test. Correct? Let's say don't worry, let's let it open. See? Downstream job. Got it? So we are just linked two jobs. In that linking, what we did is like it is considering as upstream and downstream jobs. And what we did, just in the build triggers, there was an option. Just use that. When to run after what? That we have to say. Got it? Now if I run the prod job once and the prod job will run obviously once it gets success, then it will run the test job automatically without anything. Let's say. Will now. So prod job started is done and let's wait for the test job to be triggered. How I will know? See the date, September 12th. This is the one. Of course, this is UTC timing, not IST, but this is the one today. And this job has 8 builds, so ninth one will come now. So I remember by that. See, ninth. That's how you link the jobs. And when the mainstream job is done, it will automatically build the downstream job. Sorry, once the upstream job is built, it will automatically build the downstream jobs. Let me open Notepad. So A, B, C, D. Let's say four are there, four jobs. These are all dependent on each other. It means D depends on C, C depends on B, B depends on A. This is the chain. Now A is on top, D is on bottom. So A is running, job is A is running. Once it is done, B will run. Once it is done, C will run. Once it is done, D will run. Like this, we are linking. So B is the downstream for A, right? Because it's after that. And A is upstream for B. Similar way, C is downstream for B and B is upstream for C. It is B is downstream for A and upstream for C because it comes after A and it comes before C. Same way, same thing with C. C is downstream for B because it comes after B and it comes before D, so it's upstream. This is the chain. Not just two jobs. Let's create one more job. You can link any number of jobs like this. Any number of jobs. Let's create one more thing and let's see. Let's create more item. Come on. Yeah. Let's say maybe final job. Just to post freestyle. Click OK. Ah, ah, thank God. I just write something. Now, what I have to do in this job, I have to choose my upstream job. So let's take our scenario. Prod is the first one, test is the second one, final is the third. So now, what we did in the test, I went and I chosen this as a upstream job. I mean, this should run after this is ran. Now I'll go to final. I'll select this should run after test is done. Let's do that. Mhm. Here is this build triggers. Of course, this is the one. What is the job name? Test job. Now what happens? This final job will run after test is successful. You can there are few options here you can select. Trigger only if build is stable. If this is success, then only trigger this final. Trigger even if it is unstable. Trigger if it is even the build fails, also trigger this job. Always trigger. It means even no matter whether test job runs, success, failure, unstable, stable, it does not matter for it. Once that is done, it will start the test job. You can choose any of these. Let's say I'll choose the first one because only if build is success and stable, I mean, which build? The test job build, run this job. Now see, now let's see. Mhm. It's still not loaded fully. Let's refresh. See, upstream job for final is test one. And upstream for test is prod. And upstream for prod, nothing. Because this is on top of the chain. So now what happens? If I run prod, test will run. Obviously, this is because this is downstream of prod. And test will run. What happens now after test? Final will final job will run because final is dependent on test now. I mean, it will it's up downstream of test, so it will run. Let's trigger this. Final job never ran as of now. That's cool. Prod 6 and I think it's 9. See now in the test if you see it's showing both. Test is on top of final, but below the prod. It's in between. That's why it's showing 2. Let's trigger. Let's keep it like this. Let's trigger. Get trigger it. Mhm. Okay, I didn't put it. I forgot which build number, but that's okay. Let's run it again. Yeah, see, it's triggered. I think I tried twice. Sprawl job. So, got it. Any doubts so far? Anything?
No,
Others? Any doubts in this? Upstream and downstream options. Let's let's go to another option. Any job, it does not matter. All are same. Mhm. Let it open. Again, waiting time. Finally. So build triggers. Of course, we have seen trigger remote. I mean, trigger builds remotely test something, whatever it is. And of course, build after other projects are built. So, got it. Now, let's see build periodically. What is this build periodically? These three options, whatever we're about to see now, this plays the major part in automating automation of Jenkins. Automation of Jenkins means whatever we automate in Jenkins. These three plays the major part. The build other projects, that option, I mean the downstream option, upstream option, or the trigger builds remotely, people use it, but not really automated way, right? These three things. Make sure you pay attention here now. Build periodically means when you want to build the job automatically. Let's say I want to build this job on every day, 10 o'clock or something, or specific timings, you can give here. It's just like cron job. Hope you remember the cron job. We give the cron expression here, it'll run based on that. Let's say every day 12 o'clock maybe. It'll show you Wednesday, September 11th, 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. So Wednesday, I think it is, sorry, yesterday. And of course, next is Thursday, 12 p.m. Every day 12. Sorry. Now this is 12 a.m. Thursday, 12 a.m. It's already passed. Friday 12 a.m. Tomorrow 12 a.m. it will run. So this is a cron expression, just like how we give in Linux. Same cron expression you have to give here. So it will run automatically based on the expression. So I'll give like this. Means run any every minute. But of course it will be confusing. I'll keep it maybe every day, every minute. It will so 1 minute, sorry. September 1st, sorry, date right. Sorry, my bad. Maybe one. What happens here? For every hour, first minute. Not like that, for every minute. Star dot one, so slash. So let's save. It will run every minute. What it will run, whatever the configuration we mentioned in this prod job, it will run that every minute. So what we, I think what we mentioned to check out the code and I think ls or some command, I guess. So it will execute this job every 1 minute. Let's wait. Let's now play the game, waiting game, and let's see whether this build periodically works or not. September 12th to 10th, 9th build. So let's wait a minute and it will start the job automatically. We didn't do, we need no need to do anything. So now what happens? In the prod job, what is there? We have downstream jobs, right? Once the pod is triggered, a test will trigger, and once test is done, what is that? The final job will trigger. Those also will get triggered automatically because they're we are linked all of them. We have linked all of these. So in the final job, what we did, this final should run after test. In the test, what we did, this should run after prod. That's how. I mean, from bottom to top, we linked. Remember that. So we are coming from final to test, right? We went to final, gave the test job name because final should run after this. We went to test, gave this prod name because test should run after prod. From bottom to top. Do you remember that? This is bottom to top. Bottom to top we gave. See, 10th build is done. If you see, observe here, 10 to 10 to 11, 740, 741. So every 1 minute it'll run. Of course, see, it's ran. Of course, see, it'll run now. Don't worry. See, run. These will run because of the prod job, because we link them. But this prod job is ran because of build periodically option, and we give a cron expression over there that run at this timings. That's it. That's how it works. That's how the build periodically works. That's how we automate it. Got it? So I'll give any expression, any cron expression, any time based on my requirement. It'll run that, no matter what. That's about build periodically. Is it clear? Any doubts so far in this? Anything? Nothing?
No.
All right. Nothing. We'll move to the next option, which is the most important. GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling. So this will be important, like this option. Let's say uncheck this one. This option. There's nothing here. Just select the option. No option. What is it is? See, I have a requirement now. Whenever I push something, in my GitHub account, sorry, my repo, you should trigger this job automatically. That's my requirement. That's a general requirement. How to do it? That is what I want, right? So, of course, build periodically works the same. Similar, if you observe build periodically, every minute it will run. But I don't want to run the job every minute. I want to run only when my Git repo have some changes. I want to run this job if I push something to my GitHub repository. I mean, any source code management, not just GitHub. Which GitHub? This is the one. But whatever I mentioned in the job. So I want to trigger this job automatically whenever there are some changes in this repo and of course in this branch, this configuration. If this configuration is changed, I want to trigger this job and I want to do whatever the build test, whatever it is there inside. This is the most commonly used, not most commonly. Everyone use this, not most common. So how to do that? See, I told you right. Jenkins is used for the CI/CD purpose to check out, to build, test, how all those things happens. My code I'll push to this repo, and Jenkins should take this latest code also and do the part whatever we have mentioned to do. This is the option. So first, what we have to do is we have to integrate Jenkins and GitHub. Obviously, it's integrated, so we don't need to do anything. By default, it's done. Now, what we have to do is there is something called webhook URL in Jenkins. So it will be how it will be like the URL. Where is it? Let me just paste here. URL slash GitHub hyphen webhook slash. The slash also important. Do remember the slash at the end is important. Where it will be present in the configuration in the manage Jenkins. Let's go here. I told you when the topic comes, I'll show you all those things. Don't worry. Let's see. Yeah. In the system. Mm-hmm. Thank God, finally. There is a GitHub section. There will be a GitHub section, obviously. Yeah, this is the GitHub advanced hook URL. So this is the default URL for hook. Of course, the Jenkins URL and the GitHub hyphen webhook slash. If you want to change, you can change it. See, of course, the IPs are different because it took the old IP whenever we installed. But see the remaining. This is same, except the IPs. This will be the URL, default hook URL. So what we have to do is we don't need to check the option. It's fine because we know the URL already. So why to check that option? You have to check that option only if you have static IP address. We don't have it, so let's keep it. Now what you have to do is go here. There is settings option. In settings, there's something called hooks. See, webhooks. Add a webhook. Okay. Maybe I saved the password. Cool. Payload URL. There will be something called payload URL. Just simply paste it. Now, what's happening here is I'm adding a webhook of Jenkins in the GitHub. So Jenkins gave me a webhook actually. What is webhook is I'll tell you. But for now, Jenkins gave me a web URL which is called webhook. Webhook. I think it's similar. It's this webhook belongs to GitHub. I mean, belongs to Jenkins, but it's a GitHub webhook where it'll talk to GitHub. That webhook I have to add in GitHub repo, whatever the repo that we are using. Within the settings section, there is something called webhooks. Maybe in the older versions it will be hooks, not webhooks. So if you click on that, there is something called payload URL. You have to choose it, paste the URL. Now we have to save it. Now here what's happening is what is webhook is. So webhook is something it will trigger or simply to put to keep it will send a request to this URL whenever there is a change. So when it will send, that is the main part. When it will send, it depends on when you want to trigger the job. There are so many actions below. See, these are all the actions. When you want to trigger the job, branch delete, branch create. So many things. So many things are there. Pull request review, pull request. When we create a pull request, of course, this is the common one when we push our changes. That's the default one. So see remaining order. Now my requirement is whenever someone pushes to this repository, I need to trigger this. Just the push event I selected. Add a book. So if someone pushes the changes to repository, it will trigger this GitHub, I mean the webhook. And what happens? It will trigger this web, I mean GitHub obviously trigger this webhook. And what happens is it will talk to our Jenkins server. Of course, yesterday, tomorrow it won't work because the IP changes. But for today, it will work. So it will talk to our Jenkins. Where is this? This is our Jenkins server, obviously correct. And it will filter out all the repositories. I mean, once it talk to Jenkins server, it filter out all the repositories, sorry, all the jobs which using this repository. Now let's say I have 10 jobs, but I'm using this repo only in one job, obviously. So it will go to the job. Okay, let's say it came here and it look for options. And the build triggers whether in this job this option is enabled or not. If the option is not enabled, it won't work. I mean, the job won't trigger automatically. So you have to enable this option. Then only this job will trigger. Now what happens? I push some change here. This will send a request to Jenkins. Now Jenkins, what it will do? It will look for all the jobs. Okay, which job is using this repository? Okay, fraud job is using. Only one job is there. Okay, let's say. And in the job, is this option enabled or not? The GitHub webhook trigger option enabled or not? Yes, enabled. Then trigger this job. If it is not enabled, leave it. Got it? So now we have three jobs which are using the same repo. But the option is enabled only in single job. Remaining two jobs, I haven't enabled it. Now what happens? Only this job should trigger. Only the prod job should trigger because the option is enabled. Correct? This job won't trigger. Final job won't trigger because even though they are using the repositories, they won't trigger because this option, GitHub hook trigger option, is enabled only in the prod job. So you have to use the repo as well as you have to make sure this option is enabled. Then only it will work. If you don't know anything, just click on the question mark, it will show. When Jenkins receives a GitHub post request, GitHub plugin checks to see whether hook came from the GitHub repository, which matches the Git repository defined in SCM section, obviously. And if they match, and this option is enabled, GitHub triggers one-time polling for Git SCM, and Git SCM polls on it, finds the changes and initiate the build. See, this is what I told, right, just now. It will look for the repository first in the SCM section, which we mentioned above, obviously correct. And then if they match and this option is enabled, it will trigger. So both should be both should have repo. We should use repo and this option should be enabled. If not, no, it won't trigger. Let's see. Let's save this job. Now, for the first time, we have to run this job manually, obviously, because it's once we add the webhook, we have to run the job manually. Then, from the next time onwards, it will trigger. Let it save first. Okay. Yeah. Meanwhile, come here. Let's see. It's showing some tick mark. What is it? It means this webhook can able to connect to Jenkins successful without any issues. It's just ping. It tried to connect. It worked. Okay, success. That's what it's did. It'll try to make sure the connection is established. That's it. Now we'll push something else. As I told you, first time, even though we push something, let's see, it won't work. I mean, because it from second time onwards it'll start. Come on. Yeah, I just something. Why it does not matter what I wrote. Commit. Is it done? Yeah. Let's refresh. 21 should be coming. Is it 21? Let's see. This reload is taking too much time. See, it did not trigger. Nothing is happening. The first time, as I told you, right, we have to build this manually. The second time, it will start. First, after adding a webhook, do some change, it won't work. Now, when you make some changes from the second time onwards, it will start. So then GitHub will start tracking, okay, this is there, so we have to do it. 21 is here. Now, let's push something again. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Something. Commit changes. Mhm. Let's see whether it works. 22 should be coming. Let's see. Let's wait a minute. It's not triggered. Why? You should trigger, right? But why? Where we have mentioned it wrong? You know where? Branch. Let's go here. Let's in the job. We mentioned the repository, obviously. Of course, the repo is correct. And we mentioned the develop branch name. Let's confirm it first. Come on. Yeah. We mentioned the develop branch name. It means this job will trigger only if there are some changes in develop branch. Correct? Because that's how Jenkins trigger the job. Of course, repo is came. Repo is the job came here. Sorry, the trigger. Jenkins checked it. Okay, repo is there. This option also enabled, but the branch name is different. But what we are doing here, we are updating our changes in the main branch. It won't work. So change it has to be in develop branch. We are making changes in the wrong branch. It won't work, right? That's fine. Now let's go to develop. Let's try something now. Let's see if now it should work. If it works or not. Whatever we did is correct, it should work. Develop branch. I think develop branch. Let's see. It's already done. Come on. See, it started. Did I do anything now? The wrong is the branch name. I just want to show you that. So if you update something in GitHub, of course the webhook will send a request to Jenkins. Now Jenkins will look for repo, whether the repo is using or not. If they are using, which branch they are using or not. That also it will check the branch. The branch is matching, and then it will go to the option whether the build trigger option, GitHub option is enabled or not. These three are matching, it will trigger the job. If anything is missing, no. Now if you see, these won't trigger. These are normal because I didn't. What is it? Sorry, I didn't enable the option for this. Only this job. But why it's triggered? If you observe 2228 is there, but why? We didn't choose anything. I mean, we didn't added the I mean, enable the webhook option, but why still it triggered? Hope you remember. These two jobs are dependent on prod. If a prod gets success, test will trigger. Test is success, final will trigger. That's all. That's why it triggered. Not through the GitHub. Got it? This is the most used thing. I mean, in the build trigger section, everyone uses. We use it. Any organization, if you take anyone, ask this whether they are using it or not. They'll say yes, we are using. That's what. That's the whole point of this Jenkins and everything. Because whatever we push our code, it should be automatically do everything. That's what the CA is about. That's what the CD is about. And of course, that's what Jenkins gives us. So, is it clear? This option? Hmm. Any doubts?
No, no.
Others?
No, no.
All right. There is one last option. We'll discuss that today. I think yes, we can extend maybe another 5 minutes if it is okay. So that's about build webhook option, webhooks. If you're using, let's say, not GitHub, something else, let's say Bitbucket, similar option. Jenkins webhook, it won't change. This won't change. Just copy this, go to Git, Bitbucket, wherever it's same option, your hooks option will be there, paste it. That's it. So that's about this option. Where is it? Yeah, sorry, this option. Now poll SEM. Okay, let's go to prod job. Why to confuse this one? You can do there also, but I just don't want to confuse you again because these final job and test job they're dependent on prod, so we don't want to do that. If they are not dependent, you can simply remove that. So nothing will happen. So now there is one last option in build triggers, which is called poll SEM. Come on, poll SEM. This is also similar to webhook option. Both are same. But what is the difference is in poll SEM we gave a cron expression. Similar thing we can give simply star dot one blah 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 blah, blah. Anything whatever. I mean, it's not really mandatory. So what happens is let's say 5 minutes. Just keep it example. For every 5 minutes, it will talk to your repository. Here is this. It will talk to your repository. Whatever you mentioned in the job. So what happens if there are any changes in the repository, it will build it. Got it? If there are any changes in the repository, it will build it. If not, it will skip building. It will keep on checking for every 5 minutes. So now 8.3 is there. 8888. That's after 5 minutes. It will check whether repository have any changes or not. If there are any changes at the time, while it's checking, it will build the job. If there are no changes, it will skip it and it will wait for the next 5 minutes. So the 5 minutes gap is there here. This also can be used. I mean, people keep it every 1 minute. So every 1 minute it will check the what is it? The repository. If there are any changes, it will build it. If not, it will just simply keep on checking. These also people use. But here there is a waiting period. Just if even if you give 1 minute, there is 1 minute waiting period. But in the GitHub hook trigger option, this will trigger immediately within fraction of seconds, right? There is no waiting period here. Just fraction of seconds it will trigger. That's why people prefer this option rather than policy here. But still, people use policy. That is not a bad thing. So, how it will trigger is obviously there is something called hash ID. For every commit, there will be hash, some random alphanumeric, some number will be there, some big ID. It will this Policium checks that ID. If the ID is same means there is no code changes. If the the hash ID is changed, there are changes. How? What does that mean? Let's say I have a commit, latest commit is there, something. There will be commit ID, obviously. Commit hash ID will be there. Commit hash. That's some alphanumeric. That commit hash will be unique for each and every ID, each and every commit. So this Polism, what it will do, it fetch the latest commit details. Now in that, it will check the commit hash. And now when I push again, there will be a new commit, obviously. The commit hash obviously will be new because it's unique. Okay, the commit has changed, then it will trigger it. If not changed, it will just simply keep on checking the source code management every 5 minutes. Based on the time, whatever we give. Got it? That's about policy here. But of course, there's a waiting period here, which generally people don't like. See, even it's loading, taking time, so we don't want to wait, right? Why would someone wait for this? They push the change, immediately should trigger the job, not waiting for 1 minute or 5 minutes. Something. People don't wait. They don't want to wait, especially developers. They want immediate solutions. Yeah, that's okay. So that's about policy. I don't want to use it. Let's keep it this one. That's about build trigger section. Hope it's clear. There are 5 options. Trigger builds remotely is to trigger the jobs using an URL anywhere through command line or through any browser if you know the URL. And build after other projects are built. This is like we are selecting the upstream projects. This project should be built after some other project. It means this is the downstream job and we are choosing the upstream one which is on top of us. Build periodically, we're giving cron expression. And of course, I want to tell one more thing with this build periodically. Build periodically is just give some cron expression. That's it. It will run in the time, no matter whether changes are there or not, GitHub or some updated in GitHub or not, nothing really. It simply blindly runs the job. That's it. It doesn't care about anything. If you choose this build periodically for this one, it blindly run the job. It does not care about your source code management, changes, anything, nothing really. Because just a direct cron expression that we are giving. This one obviously we have seen. So we'll add a webhook URL and the webhook will be triggered and Jenkins will trigger the job whenever there is a change in the repo in the branch which we mentioned, which you all seen. And of course, PoleSCM, same thing it will trigger whenever there is a change, but with a cron expression. So based on the time which we define. That's about build trigger section. Next thing we have, of course, build environment. We can close this. We don't cover all these things. So there is first option, delayed workspace before build starts. So if you do remember now, by now, whenever we build a job, it will check out the code. It won't check out if there is no changes. It will check out the code whenever we build it. You select this option, what happens is delete workspace. It will delete everything, whatever there in the workspace. Which workspace? In this jobs workspace, in the prod job workspace, there will be some data obviously because we're checking out the code. We're checking out the code, right? The code will be present. The content, whatever there in the repository. That it will clear everything, make you a clean directory, empty directory, and it will check out, recheck out again. I mean, redo everything again. Why? Because just to make sure that our workspace is clean before we start a new build. Let's say I built now, again I built. The code is same. It just pull the latest changes. If I select this option, it'll delete everything, whatever there inside this prod job workspace, and start the build. It'll do whatever it does. You can keep it if on there's no wrong with this because we'll keep it because we want a clean workspace every time. So we don't want to use sometimes because what happens is Jenkins uses cache. It won't take the latest changes. It will use cache. So at the time it will be difficult. Uh, we have to rerun the job again in order to clear the cache, or we have to delete this workspace manually. So that's why if you choose this option before the build, it will clear everything and start the build. And of course, the doubt is, let's say you accidentally deleted this workspace folder itself. The project folder will be there right in workspace. You deleted that. What happens? Don't worry, it will recreate again. Nothing will happen. Nothing. So that's what the job is. It will recreate again. Don't worry. That's what this delete workspace will do. I mean, clear everything before starting the build, and it will freshly start. That's what it does. And there is something called using secret or secret files. Let's say you have some secret which you want to use it. Allow you to take credentials of various source, use them in shell script in the build step. So let's say you have a variable. Sorry, let's say a secret, some username. Let's say sorry, password. Let's say you can add it in the credential section. Obviously, we have seen the Jenkins credential section, right? I add there, and what's happening here is you can use these credentials in the build. I mean, in the build step. This will come tomorrow. Don't worry. So you can use this. So if you want anything, whatever these, I mean, whatever the credentials are there in, in the whatever the credentials you have added. I mean, in the Jenkins, in the global credential section, it will show here, and you can use that. Not only credentials, whatever adding certificate, SH, secret file, secret test, everything you can able to add. You can able to use it in the pipeline. I mean, sorry, in the job. I meant to say. This is one. I don't want this also. Let's keep this. There is something called add timestamps to console output. What is a console output? I think you know by now. It will show everything related to build. I mean, like what it did exactly. So if you're adding a add timestamp to console output means it will add the time before, at what time this happened, at what time this happened, including the seconds and everything. So it will just show you the timing. See, just it's not showing the timing currently, right? On the left side, it will show you the timing. Let's say this, and let's say this. It will take again time. That's why. Yeah. Now not showing anything, right? Let's build now again. It will show you the timings. On the left side, it will show you timings. Okay, job started at blah 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 some timing, and checkout happened at this timing, something like that. Let's see. Build now. 23rd should come. Yes, it's already done. That was. Let's open a new tab. Why to waste? See, see the timing here. That's what this is about. The timestamp option is about. Got it? Is it clear? Now there is one more option called terminate if the build is stuck. So we're setting a timeout for the build. If build is taking more than, let's say, 30 minutes. It will automatically stop the build because let's say you know that the build won't take more than 5 minutes or something, but it takes 30 minutes. It means something is wrong with the build. Something got stuck. It could be anything. There are multiple issues for that. What to do now? You have to stop the build. So you can do it manually. You simply, so what happens is here, into mark will come. When the build is running, into mark will come. We'll see that tomorrow or day after tomorrow. You click on that, it will stop the build. But you don't want to do it manually. So what you do? Simply enable this option. Maybe keep the timeout of 30 seconds. It will automatically stop the build once the timeout exceeds. It means, of course, we keep the timeout in responsible manner. I mean, since we know how much job will take, so we'll keep obviously more than that. Got it? That's about this timeout. So maybe let's keep it 5 minutes. It hardly takes a minute, but let's keep it 5 minutes. If it is taking more than 5 minutes, what is the action I want to do? Abort the build, fail the build, or write in the build description. Abort the build. Don't fail it. Abort the build. It's fine. Simply save it. So now, if this job, prod job, is taking more than 5 minutes to run, obviously it will abort the build. That will happen. Got it? So, meanwhile, by saving it, yeah, okay. That's about build environment section also. I purposely ignore few options. Don't worry. When the time comes, I'll tell you. If I'm skipping it, not required. For do remember that. Is it clear? So today we have seen build triggers and build environment section. Timestamp, okay. Delete workspace, okay. Terminate also, okay. 5 minutes. Build triggers, yeah, this is fine. This is not required for me. I'll skip it. Is this clear? These two sections, build and post build, that we'll see tomorrow. Build, I think you know already. To do any task, this is where we give the commands on everything, whatever our things. Post build is what happens after the build. That we'll see. So that we'll cover tomorrow. And from the day after onwards, we'll see our real task. We'll start, working with doing our mail and our sonar things, whatever we did so far. What is today? Tuesday, right? Tomorrow, Friday, we'll cover this. Yeah, Saturday we'll have class. Yeah, that's okay. So is it clear today?
Yes.
Or others? Is it okay? Is it clear or is doubts? I'll share the document on maybe Monday. I have to see. I have, but I have to figure out where it is. But meanwhile, you watch the video and do practice. Got it? So yeah, that's it for today. We'll meet tomorrow same time. So bye everyone.